we finally have our grimy little paws on the new Katie Robert book, which you just finished earlier today.
Oh my fucking god.
And we can't even really talk, we can't even have a good conversation about it because I just started it, but I enjoy it so far. I texted you, this is spoilers for Tender Cruelty, I guess, but it's just the first couple chapters. I was like, oh no, I'm gay for Cersei, and she hasn't even done anything besides horrible crimes, atrocities, and she called Hera a good girl in the bathroom. They weren't even doing anything sexual. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I see the
Yeah.
appeal. Oh no, women's wrongs.
Here's the thing. Hermes and Cersei are definitely like they're clashing, and I don't think it's not too much of a spoiler to tell you like they're not on good terms at the end of the book.
Yeah, no, I can imagine not.
So I cannot wait to see what the fuck is going to happen in Shattered Gods because like also we know that they're going to fuck, obviously they're going to fuck, but we've had less and less sex scenes for like most of the back half of the series. But we've also previously established that Hermes gets freaky.
I cannot wait. We've seen the inside of her house. I gotta know. I'm just simply fascinated. I'm very excited. And also, there's political intrigue stuff, and the magic barrier that surrounds the city has fallen, and what will they do? Yeah, yeah, all that. But also, how are these two little freaks gonna just absolutely wreck each other in the most
And
messed
their
up
third,
psychosexual way? Yes, and the other one.
and Atalanta.
Yeah, so it's gonna be messy. But compared to some of the other books that I've been reading, I think it might not be that shocking because I've read a couple of extreme horror, I guess you could call them projects this year, because one was a novel, one was Fluids by May Leitz, which if extreme horror is not your thing, don't read it. But then there was another one that was a visual novel called Orange Peel Onion Skin, which was this weird snake god cult kind of religion empreg vor thing with body horror. It was a lot. So I think my brain needs a break. But compared to that, Dark Olympus is fucking nothing.
Dark Olympus is honestly a masterpiece, and I do think we do in fact have to do an
Yeah,
episode on it
they're
at
not
some
gonna
point.
actually murder each other while having sex, which does happen in Fluids. So, be a fucking breeze. But yeah, I think we kind of do at some point. Secret series, bonus mini series.
That one may have to be a I don't know. That one may have to be behind a paywall somewhere.
Yeah, listeners, you're gonna have to give us something. We'll talk about it. We'll work it out. But they're good books, is the point.
They're honestly they're remarkably good.
And can I also use this? Well, I don't know about plugging a product because I am not being sponsored, but it's not owned by Amazon. So I do want to, I guess, shout out my new e-reader that I just got. I just got a Kobo at the recommendation of our friend G. And it's like a Kindle, but it's not owned by Amazon, basically. It's got the e-ink screen, it's got its own little bookstore or whatever. But the two things that really sold me on it are that it's repairable. So if a part of it breaks, you can repair it instead of having to get a new one, which is nice. But the second one is that it's waterproof. And I actually don't really like baths or the pool personally. I don't really find either of those activities particularly fun or relaxing. I am famously a pool hater. But if I ever did want to do either of those things, I could take it with me. I could read in the rain if I wanted to. And I am just so charmed by the idea of a device with any kind of physical robustness whatsoever. That is really exciting to me. So that is how I am experiencing this new Katie Robert book and our book club book, which I just checked out from the library.
That one's excellent. I don't know that I have the emotional range right now to handle it.
Yeah, it's our book club book this month is Sammy Espinosa's Last Review, which I have not read, but Rin has. And I know that it did make you cry at least once.
I basically I listened to the audiobook. I think it was like within I don't remember whether it was the last book I read of the year a couple years ago or the first book I read of the year last year. And I think I started it in December 23 and
That
finished it
sounds right.
in January 24, maybe 24, 25. Doesn't matter particularly, because I sat on the couch. Like, I think I was doing something else and I had to stop doing what I was doing, leave my room where I was doing things, walk out to my couch and sit stock still on my couch as staring into the darkness until about midnight while I finished the last 3 hours of the book, just tears streaming down my face. And I was like, oh dear God.
Yeah. It's a heavy hitter, so I have been told.
it's it's definitely something. So I'm excited for that, because that's gonna hurt some people in the group.
Yay!
Maybe
Question mark.
with love.
Speaking of emotional damage, things that we are inflicting on people.
I have a bad feeling about this.
If that's a Star Wars reference, I don't know.
It is maybe the most repeated line in Star Wars.
I'm already off to a really strong start.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Fandom Apprentice, or alternatively, if this is your first time with us, welcome to The Fandom Apprentice.
The name is finally a joke from the thing.
The name finally matters, and honestly, we're not going to get to that for like a full year. To the exact episode that we pulled this from, it's going to be a minute. If you've been listening to the last 2 seasons of the show, our Murderbot coverage or our Tolkien coverage, you can skip ahead a little bit if you would like, or if you'd like to get reacquainted with us before we dive into a galaxy far, far away, feel free to stick around, and otherwise you can jump ahead to where we intro this season specifically. This is The Fandom Apprentice. This is a podcast where now for about 2.5 years, almost, not quite, we've been working our way through the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, both of which were stories that mean a lot to me personally. I grew up with Lord of the Rings. It was a huge part of my childhood, huge part of creating a love of fantasy that I have had ever since. The Murderbot Diaries came to me in 2020 in a very deep, dark part of the pandemic when I was working in a COVID lab. I was thankfully not treating patients, but I was seeing and dealing with some of the darkest parts of the pandemic at the time. And that little spark of goodness and humor and science fiction meant a lot to me at the time. So my name is Rin. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm one of your hosts. By day, I am a biologist. Currently work primarily in genomics. I have some background in animal behavior and in public health and in virology and various other subtopics because I spent a lot of time bouncing around different labs. I also, in undergrad, minored in archaeology and music, and those interests are going to play very, very heavily into our discussion of Star Wars, because that is what we are doing this season. The premise of this podcast is that I find a piece of media. It's either a piece of media that I grew up with or a piece of media that meant a lot to me in another scenario, and I share that piece of media with Sam. We'll introduce Sam in just a moment.
I feel like I've been poking my head tentatively off the side of a stage and I've been shoved back behind the curtain.
The little crook comes out and just yanks you. I'm a nerd. I'm a liberal arts nerd. I've been a nerd my entire life. I've been into sci-fi and fantasy since before I can remember. I've been playing D&D since I was about 10 years old. My dad is a lifelong nerd, and so he raised me on Lord of the Rings, on Star Wars, on Earthsea, on Foundation. I grew up with a lot of these properties. And since graduating from college, I've gotten back into reading really heavily, and Sam and I together run a queer book club, and I love all things queer lit, romance and erotica, to politics and history and spec fic. But the whole premise of this podcast is that I need to share media. Or more accurately, force media down the throats of my friends. And our chosen victim, slash co-conspirator slash collaborator, is one of my oldest and dearest friends, Sam.
Yippee! Hello, I'm Sam. I'm the other one. I use she, her pronouns. My academic background is in religion and in queer theory. Religion specifically, though, Buddhist studies. Don't ask me questions about Catholicism because I don't know the answers. That happens to me a lot, is people will ask me stuff about saints. I'm like, I don't know. But who knows?
There's going to be a lot you have to talk about here in Star Wars.
I have a feeling, based on the loose vibes, that there will be a lot to say. My day job is in childcare, which actually does come up on the podcast way more frequently than I expect it to. Keep thinking it's not going to be relevant, and then I have opinions about parenting. So we shall see. I am also a lifelong nerd, but the media that I interacted with as a kid just didn't really overlap with the media that Rin interacted with as a kid. So we complete each other very nicely. I am aware of Star Wars, and we will get into this more in a moment. But I know that it exists. I live in the same world as everybody else. I can identify Yoda in a lineup, but in terms of specifics, I really don't know a lot. I'm very excited to start on this journey.
How do we know each other, Sam?
Do we start with Dungeons and Dragons? Do we start with Miles? Because we knew each other before D&D.
Yeah, I grew up with your spouse.
Yeah, that I think is the main connecting factor. And then through D&D, and then eventually book club, and various ways in which we realize that we are the same person in different fonts, and that we share a single brain cell, we've just kind of merged. We will often joke that I stole you from Miles, or that you stole me from Miles, but regardless of which way it went, we are thick as thieves, as some might say.
Yes, a veritable Han and Chewie.
I know that is the guy who flies a spaceship and the guy in the fursuit.
The guy who flies a spaceship is going to be a lot of people in in this one. In a typical episode, you can expect us to have some sort of intro banter, and then we'll go into a section of the overall story. We'll go into either a few chapters of a book, an episode or two, maybe a whole book, maybe a comic, maybe a video game. Star Wars spans a lot of different types of media. We'll talk about story choices, we'll talk about references to other media, influences. We'll be incredibly horny on main. This is not a podcast to put on the aux at work. This is not a podcast to show your kids.
Yeah, this is not the way to introduce your younglings, that's a Star Wars thing, to Star Wars. Although I do also know bad things happen to younglings in Star Wars, so maybe not.
We spent nearly 2 years going through Lord of the Rings, and we've spent basically a full year in a different sci-fi in Murderbot. If you would like to see us discussing what defines sci-fi and sort of our background and feelings with science fiction specifically, you can go to the intro episode for our Murderbot coverage. So the first episode of season 2, it's a little ways down in our feed, I believe like 13, 14 episodes roughly, somewhere in there. And you can get that background there. There are a couple of other big pieces that we will reference regularly. We have, over the course of our time exploring these other two pieces of media, particularly Lord of the Rings, which was so foundational to fantasy media in the last century, we have come up with the Fandom Apprentice's definitely universal rules of fantasy. Many of them are also applicable to sci-fi. Whether or not Star Wars is sci-fi is up for debate. But the rules are as follows, and they are important to us. Rule number 1.
Magic makes you dramatic. And the corollary to Rule 1, the level of drama increases with the level of magical power.
Yes, there is a second corollary to Rule 1. 1.2 states that magical creatures speak and magical characters speak first in service to the plot and second in service to character. Speaking of plot, rule number 2, if there is a tavern, there will be plot.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 3, time responds to story. Story does not respond to time. Rule number 4, it all comes back to Beowulf. This one was very heavily for our Lord of the Rings reading, but we've moved this out of its original context to talk about basically how there are no new stories under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Every piece of media that you have read, every story that you have experienced, every life experience that you have influences the kind of creative works that you output. You cannot divorce the experiences and the background of the author and the creators from the media itself. And so when we say it all comes back to Beowulf, in that case we are talking about Tolkien's academic history with Beowulf as a Beowulf scholar, his love of Anglo-Saxon literature. When we talk about that in Star Wars, we're going to be talking about Kurosawa and Westerns and anything else that George Lucas put out. We're going to be talking about, honestly, how self-referential Star Wars gets in later years as it becomes an entity unto itself. Finally, rule number 5.
Friendship is magic and community is strength, which sounds cheesy, but is earnest and true. And the corollary to rule 5, by the transitive property, therefore friendship makes you dramatic.
Yes. We also have mentioned in our sci-fi coverage Arthur C. Clarke's 3 Laws of Science Fiction, which is 1. When a distinguished but elderly scientist states that something is possible, he is almost certainly right. When he states that something is impossible, he is very probably wrong. 2. The only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture a little way past them into the impossible. And 3. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. This is where we connect those 3 laws from Arthur C. Clarke, one of the great founding fathers, quote unquote, of science fiction, one of the great science fiction writers of the 20th century. That is where we connect it to our definitely universal rules of fantasy. Because if any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, therefore, any sufficiently advanced technology can make one dramatic as fuck.
It all comes together. We've thought this through.
We are incredibly intellectual over here on this podcast.
But no, here's the thing is that I have downloaded JSTOR articles for this podcast. We have cited sources. We are the kinds of nerds who also love school. So we do get academic sometimes.
This is true. We will get academic. We will get horny. We will get academic about being horny, and we will get horny about being academic.
That's beautiful. That should be a law of the fandom apprentice. Can we translate that into Latin and that's our motto?
Academic about horny. Horny about academic.
Okay, gotta jot down a note to do that later. Amazing.
So I guess we roll into the purpose of season 3. This was actually the original purpose of the Fandom Apprentice. This is what I created this podcast for.
Mm-hmm.
We had been reading The Hobbit together over the phone during parts of lockdown, and it came up at one point in conversation that Sam had never watched Star Wars. And because we were already having multi-hour-long phone calls about every chapter of The Hobbit as we read it, not even the reading of the chapter, but the discussions afterwards were multiple hours long, we decided it would be fun to record our conversations about a new piece of media. We then backtracked and did all of Lord of the Rings and everything, but we are now finally in Star Wars. I have sort of developed in order for maximum emotional damage / interesting ways of talking about the series. Star Wars as a whole is such a huge sandbox to play in. There are comics, there are video games, there are movies, there are shows, there are non-canon strip clubs.
There's that you can go to?
No, there's a burlesque show called The Empire Strips Back.
Oh, amazing.
It is not affiliated with Lucasfilm or Disney in any way. However, there is a Disney park, which is canon in and of itself. There is so much shit involved in the realm of Star Wars. There is also 2 whole universes. There is one, which, when Disney bought Star Wars, it was decided that none of this stuff actually happened. It is called Legends.
Oh.
And then there is the canon content.
Okay.
So we are entering a massive multiverse where there is just so much room to play around, so much media to discuss. We will not touch all of it. And I have plenty of commentary at some point on my feelings about how all of it weaves together, and how sometimes I dislike how everything leads back to like these two characters who are the most important in the universe and God's special chosen ones. I have my feelings about that. I also know that we're playing, in this imaginary sandbox that we're playing in. Of course, we're coming back to these characters. They're the original characters, and they're obviously the most important. So that's who we're following this whole time. Anyway, point is, there is so much room to play with, and I don't know everything that we're going to cover. We're just going to cover what we can, what we want, what we enjoy, what has meant a lot to me growing up and in my adult life, having returned to a lot of Star Wars. I think also it's important that I make clear here, this is a very pro-feminist, pro-queer, pro-trans, leftist, anti-cop, pro-Palestine show.
Mm-hmm.
This is incredibly important that we are clear about this. We are anti-fascist. We are the Empire are in fact the fucking bad guys. You motherfuckers. And I am saying this because Sam doesn't know this yet. There is a section of the Star Wars fandom commonly referred to as the Fandom Menace.
Oh dear.
In reference to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. They are a group that is what you'd expect from a bunch of right-wing so-called sci-fi fans. Miss the whole fucking point. So I just want to be very clear about that. I'm trans. I'm non-binary. We are both incredibly fucking queer.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to this show because it's another random Star Wars show you found and that's not something you want to hear, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And also I know because the Fandom Menace likes to be vocal and likes to yell ragey shit. I don't fucking care. Just go. If you want to leave annoying comments, I will just delete them. We're not engaging. There's no point. So you can go.
Yeah, we don't make any money off this podcast. We don't need that one or two haters numbers is not really going to affect us in any way, so.
No. I don't remember how I got into Star Wars. I remember at one point, I have vague memories of my dad pulling out his little box set of the VHS tapes and going, we're going to watch Star Wars tonight. And it honestly, I think it might have been a weekend. I feel like it was daylight out. And we sat down and we watched Star Wars A New Hope. He very intentionally was like, we are watching Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, if I remember, I was a little resistant to it for some reason.
Mm.
And then we watched Star Wars and immediately it was like, when can we watch Empire Strikes Back?
Oh, that's cute.
So I have been a Star Wars fan from as soon as I actually was introduced. My brother and I grew up dueling with lightsabers on the front lawn and zooming around town on our bikes pretending to be X-Wings and shit. So this is very much a bit of media that has been a part of my life since I could remember. And I'm really excited to get to share that with Sam and to dig into this and ruin this in our own special way. So I can't ask you how you came to Star Wars. So I guess I have to ask you, what do you know about Star Wars?
So, like I said up top, I live on the same planet as everybody else. I know what Star Wars is, and I have memories associated with it. I also played with lightsabers as a child. I think one of my brothers had some kind of Yoda toy thing that talked. I remember people doing Jar Jar Binks voices on the playground. I actually have a very early memory. I was probably 4 of when I lived on the campus of a Christian college, where I lived very briefly for the beginning of my life. Fun personal lore. And there were these two little boys who lived across the hall from me who would sometimes invite me over. And they had Star Wars on in their apartment. And I looked at it and I saw C-3PO for like 3 seconds and I got bored and left. And I just walked back to my apartment. So I was just very kind of peripherally aware. But I don't think that I have seen any Star Wars movies end to end. But things that I know. I did not write this list down, so we're just going to go off the dome. It's in space. It was a long time ago, a galaxy far, far away. We all know this. Oh, I did play the Imperial March on the clarinet in band in the 4th grade. So that's something. Back when I knew how to play clarinet, I could play that badly. I was not good at clarinet. There's the Force, which is magic, basically. There's the Jedi, who are the good guys, and the Sith, who are the bad guys. My understanding of the Jedi is they are kind of... This could be very wrong. The problem is anything I'm saying could be very wrong. They're like kind of space Buddhists in that like desire and attachment and emotion are like not things that they're supposed to do. So, and then some of them get in trouble when they do have desires and attachments and emotions. Yoda is a little frog guy. He talks funny. He's very old. Luke Skywalker is a guy. I was about to confidently say what color lightsaber he has, but I don't know. Anakin is his dad. He's Darth Vader. He is from a desert planet, maybe. I think his parents or aunt and uncle or something were like, I've heard the phrase moisture farmers. Were they moisture farmers on the desert? I don't know. They died. They got something like a fire. Maybe something bad happened to them. Anakin does something. Padme is there. They fall in love, maybe. She has cool outfits. He kills a bunch of children at one point. That's not good. If something happens to him, he turns into Darth Vader. Luke Skywalker, I don't know what he does. He does some stuff. One of them is like not, maybe it's Anakin, who's like not actually a Jedi, that there's some technicality that he doesn't actually have that rank for some reason. What else? There's Chewbacca. He's the big furry guy. There's Han Solo, who's his friend. There's Princess Leia, who's got the cinnamon buns. Carrie Fisher, fascinating woman, cool actress. She's dead. What else have we got? I remember a scary scene that maybe it was with Padme. It was with one. There's like 2 girls in Star Wars. So it was with one of them. There's some kind of gross worm thing that's like crawling on her in her bedroom. I was very scared of that as a child. So there's something with a gross worm. X-Wings is the big ships that they drive really fast. Those are cool. Jar Jar Binks people don't like. As a child, I thought he was very funny, but that's because I was a small child. So maybe as an adult, he's very annoying. There is a snow planet with big guys, big fluffy animals with horns that you cut open and stay warm inside. That's something that happens. I have seen The Mandalorian. I've seen at least the first season of The Mandalorian, so I know a bunch of that stuff. Don't remember much of it because that was during peak lockdown, and there's a lot of things from that time that I've just kind of subconsciously blocked out. But there's little baby Yoda. He's cute. Pedro Pascal is a hot man in a mask. I'm trying to think like what else I know about Star Wars, because I'm being very flippant about it, but it's because I'm insecure because I don't know anything. I am not faking my level of ignorance here. I'm really trying. Oh yeah, Leia has her sexy outfit from when the big slug guy keeps her prisoner for a bit. I hope she kills him. It seems like he deserves that. I also played the Lego Star Wars game on the Wii as a small child, so I'm trying to see if there's anything I remember from that.
We will discuss that game because it's phenomenal.
Oh my god, who's the little guys? The little furry guys that are like Chewbacca but
Ewoks.
small. Ewoks. Are they the ones who have Life Day and people hate Life Day? That's a thing.
Yes.
Also because as a child, or like a tween, I guess, I was exposed to a lot of nerd media that was made by people who were older than me. So I have listened to people talk about the Star Wars fandom like third hand. So I know that there's people who make jokes about Life Day. Don't know what that is. What the fuck else? There's a guy who has a purple lightsaber. He seems interesting. Don't know anything about him. Oh my god, there's R2-D2 and C-3PO. They're the droids. They're fun. C-3PO is gay. R2-D2 doesn't talk. There's...
I very much will say.
Clones. They're the...
I'll interrupt to give you one spoiler, which is not actually canon, but it is in our hearts, is that R2-D2 and C-3PO are 100% gay married.
Amazing. I love it. I'm already on board. Oh my god, it's going to be our Legolas and Gimli in space. The tall and the small. Amazing. Okay.
It absolutely is.
There's also some other ones that look like R2-D2, but they're like built into a ship and they're red. I've seen those. The stormtroopers, bad guys, clones, they are bad at shooting guns. So I have heard they tend to not hit things. That's all I fucking got. George Lucas, he's a guy. He's still alive, probably, right? Is he dead? That'd be really embarrassing. I don't know. He's the guy who made the movies. Disney owns them now, so that's something. I do know, I have said this on previous episodes of the podcast, I do know weirdly a lot about Galaxy's Edge in Disney World, because that was one of my other pandemic hobbies, was just watching a lot of travel videos about Disney World. I do not have warm fuzzy feelings towards the Walt Disney Company or family of products because I don't like any big corporation, but it's just kind of like an anthropological fascination. Like I want to understand Disney adults and why they're going to pay $19 for a Mickey shaped cookie. I just need to know. So I do know weirdly a lot about that and about the Star Wars hotel that they did that was very bad that people didn't like. But truly just scraping my brain for literally fucking anything else. Oh, there's the band that plays in the cantina that has like dun, 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 dun. I think the canonical name for that band is that they're a jizz band. Is that a thing? I had seen something about jizz being canon.
Jizz music is in fact a thing in Star Wars.
Hooray! Yay! Oh, we're gonna have fun. And I've also seen this is a meme. There's no way that this is like a real canon thing. But my understanding of what this meme seems to be is people will reference, it's kind of like Blorbo in that it's like the idea of a character, but the Star Wars version is people will say Glup Shitto. Is that a thing? That like, oh, Glup Shitto from Star Wars.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Star Wars names are just something else. I saw a post on Tumblr a couple weeks ago, which was like a Star Trek alien is just a human with pointy ears and a weird face tattoo. They're called, the Kamarathi, and there's like 2 apostrophes in there, versus a Star Wars alien is a bug, except the bug is vaguely Asian, and a Doctor Who alien is a toaster. It's just a toaster, and it's called, the Tharkalaps of Menard. That is how we define aliens in various sci-fi properties.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I feel like I had another thought.
It's okay. You'll have many thoughts, many first thoughts. I like firsts. They're always memorable, good or bad.
I'm very excited. I think that this will be really fun to just get into something that is so... Oh, I did remember what the thing was that was on the tip of my tongue. So I know that there's there's like 3 kind of clumps of movies. There's the regular movies, there's the prequels, which people don't like, and then there's also new movies. And the new movies have Adam Driver in them, and I will probably recognize a lot of things from those movies from the romance novels of Ali Hazelwood, who really likes Reylo as a ship. And so Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver reincarnated in every book Ali Hazelwood writes. I feel like I already know them. So that'll be fun. But I think that is truly, in my heart of hearts, that's all I got.
I'm very excited to try to work our way through this. Or we will work our way through this. There is no try.
That's a Star Wars joke. That's a Yoda. That's a Yoda joke. Yeah! I feel like I need a sticker chart for every time I get a Star Wars joke. Correct. I'll just put a little gold star up. Ding, ding, ding.
I'm going to try and sprinkle in as much as I can. There is so much to draw from, which I suppose gets into the start of our machete order. We're going to be starting in kind of an unconventional place. We're going to be starting with season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
In part because you've already seen it, so we'll refresh that. We're going to go with season 1 of The Mandalorian. I haven't decided whether we will also do season 2 or whether we will come back later. But after we do some of The Mandalorian, we will then jump into Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Ooh, we're starting on it.
Well, that is the original 1977 Star Wars movie.
Okay.
It was originally titled Star Wars, and it wasn't until the prequels came out that it was retitled Episode 4.
Gotcha.
So it was retitled A New Hope when Empire Strikes Back came out, if I remember correctly. That will be our initial starting order. We would love it if you'd watch along with us. Our process when we've covered visual media in the past is very much to discuss certain visual choices and audio choices, but not in a play-by-play type situation sometimes. So it behooves one to have seen the material. It is not required of you, but if you would like to watch along with us and have a better handle on what we are talking about on any given week, that is a way to go. When we talk about probably some of the less accessible or less common pieces of Star Wars media, like things that less people might have seen all of or played all of, like when we talk about the Jedi Survivor games, we'll play some of those, but we won't expect everyone to have played all the way through Jedi Survivor. I'm very excited. This is probably going to be at least the next 2 years, probably more, of this podcast.
I'm ready to settle in.
I love unpaid job security.
This has been brewing for so long that it's finally time. We have honed our podcast skills so we can hopefully do justice to the material.
Yes. So if you would like to join us, and together we can explore the galaxy as hosts and listeners, you may do so by following us wherever you're currently listening. You can follow us on any other podcast platform that suits your fancy. If we are not on your preferred podcast platform, please reach out to us and let us know, and we will do our best to fix that. You can reach out to us at thefandomapprentice@gmail.com. We are guaranteed to reply to you within 3 business days. That is our most checked form of communication. We are also on various forms of social media. We are on a social media. We are there as @FanAppPod. FANAPPPOD. I check those infrequently, but they are checked. So if you want a rapid response, send us an email. If you don't mind when we see it, you can check out our social media. If you like what you are hearing, this episode was a little haphazard because we decided to make it so, which is not a Star Wars reference.
No, that's a Star Trek. Different, the other Star thing.
Picard.
This is going to be like when I was taking French and Spanish classes at the same time, and I would have to do my oral exams for one and accidentally say stuff in the other. There's gonna be some merging because I do know a lot about Star Trek.
Oh, it's not even French and Spanish is not even bad. Is easy to mix up. I would mix up Danish and Italian.
Oh no.
Man, that's a fun amalgamation, let me tell you. I think that about sums it up for now. Give us a follow. Thanks so much. If you like what you're hearing, give us a 5-star review. Give us a written review if the podcast platform you're listening on allows that sort of thing. And we will see you all out there in a galaxy far, far away next time. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
The Phantom Apprentice is produced and edited by Rin and Sam. Our music is composed and performed by James. You can find more of his work on Spotify and Bandcamp under Beiruz, B-A-E-R-U-Z. Our art is by Casey Turgeon. You can find more of her work at KCT Designs on Instagram. The content discussed is the property of the original copyright holders and is used here under fair use.